Hey everyone, I'm Almar of almarsguides.com, and in this video here, I'm going to be talking to you about Fist of Stone builds in Dungeon Siege 2. So this is part of my Dungeon Siege 2 video guides where I'm basically giving you a breakdown of everything you need to know, everything a new player would need to know. These are not expert guides by any stretch of the imagination. Everything a new player would need to know about a specific build or specialization to be more accurate in the game. I'm going to have one video per specialization, so one for ranged, one for melee, one for combat magic, one for nature magic, blah, blah, blah. This one is for Fist of Stone. So I'm going to be talking about all of the different Fist of Stone builds you can do, as well as what each talent does, which talents you want to get, which spells you want to use, and all of that good stuff. Now, this video is going to be formatted a little bit more like a podcast, so what's going on the what is going on the screen right now will be not as important to, what I'm saying. So you can alt-tab if you want, listen to this in the background while you're playing Dungeon Siege 2, or while you're doing something else, the usual. So let's hop in and let's look at my dual-wield Fist of Stone character, which is the one that I'm playing now, my little dwarf. He's one of my favorite characters. So looking at my melee tree, most of our points are going to be going into melee, despite the fact that we are primarily a Fist of Stone character. So, looking in melee, reinforced armor on the top here, you want to put 1 point into barricade, that way you can get to reinforced armor. Reinforced armor is a very important ability because it'll boost your overall armor. Armor is very, very important in this game because it will reduce the amount of damage you take from physical damage sources. So melee, ranged, anything that deals physical damage, that will reduce the amount of damage you take. If you want to increase your character's survivability, armor is the best way to do it. Hands down, no questions asked. I love armor. Fortitude and toughness, these are both survivability talents, basically. One increases your maximum health. One increases the physical damage resistance that you get, the flat physical damage resist. Highly recommend you get both of them. Both are very, very useful and very, very important. Now we also have Smite and Overbear. Both of those are two-hand weapon talents for melee. And I would say that a two-hand Fist of Stone build is okay. It's a little less effective than dual wield because Fist of Stone is good for fast, quick hits to proc Tremor, and that's really it. Tremor would proc quite slow with a two-hand weapon, so you'll get a lot less damage out of Fist of Stone, but two-hand Fist of Stone build definitely can still work, so there is that. So Critical Strike, obviously very important because it's going to give you a flat crit chance, and also Deadly Strike because that's going to increase the flat crit damage that you do. Then you also have Dual Wield, which obviously I got quite a bit on this character because he is a Dual Wield Fist of Stone character. Alacrity, which is also a useful talent to get. It'll increase my attack speed, which is more useful for a Dual Wield character. And then Fierce Renewal, which I don't recommend you get really at all because we're not going to be really using that many melee powers. Since we're primarily a Fist of Stone character, we're going to be using Fist of Stone powers. However, it is common for some Fist of Stone characters to use certain melee powers, such as Provoke. If you want to be a Fist of Stone character that is primarily a tank, such as my Lothar, I'll show you him in a little bit. He uses Provoke, which is his Fist of Stone, which is a melee power, despite being like kind of a Fist of Stone tank. And that's going to be your choice. Brutal Attack is also good for bosses, which is also not a Fist of Stone power. Fist of Stone doesn't have too many boss abilities, I would say. So let's go to my ranged. So as you can see, I have summoned Dodge and summoned Survival and ranged on my Fist of Stone character because you really can't go wrong with either of those. They boost my survivability. I do have quite a bit into my pet abilities here because I like to use a pet on my Fist of Stone character. So I also am using, I have 12 points into Enveloping Embrace because I am using Spirit Embrace. It is, Spirit Embrace is the best Embrace ability that the best one that I think there is in the game. There is Wrath of the Bear, which is the other one that I use, which is, well, the other buff that I use, and that is, in my opinion, the best Wrath ability in the game if you're going to be using a melee team or a physical damage dealing team, to be more specific, because ranged users, the ones that do throwing weapons, crossbows, or bows, they will benefit from Wrath of the Bear as well. It's not just melee that will benefit. However, if you're going to be using a all like nature mage / combat mage team, you'll want to use different wraths than Wrath of the Bear. As you can see, my Fist of Stone character also is using Earth Blast instead of Defender because he is a dual wield Fist of Stone character. Therefore, Earth Blast will give me more procs overall, which will be more damage overall. He also is using Master Nourish because he's kind of like a pseudo spot healer / DPSer. And he's also using the Rhinoc Pet, which I can actually upgrade since he's higher level in nature magic. Now let's look at Fist of Stone since it's the last skill tree on him, last specialization on him. As you can see, I got quite a bit into Tremor and Quake. Tremor and Quake are going to be the main damage dealing abilities for you in Fist of Stone. And as aforementioned, they're really, really good for dual wield characters because they will proc a lot. They have a chance of proccing on every single melee swing, including ones with your offhand. Soul of Strength. That is a very good ability to grab for dual wield Fist of Stone characters because it will increase the effectiveness of Earth Blast. As you can see, I have an equal amount in the Soul of Protection. That is solely because of the Eruption power. However, I don't think I like Eruption that much. I prefer the Earthquake Aura, despite the fact that it does less damage. One thing that I don't like about Eruption is I have to spend a lot of useless talent points in order to get it. Because Eruption takes both Soul of Strength and Soul of Protection, and you can only use one defensive or offensive enhancement. So basically, if you get 8 points into both, then you're wasting 8 points into at least one of them. So there is that, and I don't like that. That is the biggest downside of the Eruption power. However, spending some points into Soul of Protection will allow you to get Strength of the Mountain, which gives you 16 Strength and 12 Intelligence. A lot more useful at lower levels, since I'm on Elite difficulty at the end of the game. 16 Strength and 12 Intelligence are not that useful to me anymore. So it's actually worth skipping if I wanted to. As for the other 1-point wonders, improved Fault Line, don't bother with it all unless you're going to use the Fault Line power, which I honestly do not recommend you do, because it's very hard to aim Fault Line. It does it basically like shoots out of you in a line. I don't really know how. You'll notice when you use Fault Line what I'm talking about, and when you have to aim certain powers, the thing that I don't like about them is it's hard to pay attention to where that character is. Like if I tell you right now, or actually let me go into a pack of mobs to make it a little bit more easier. If I ask you right now, without even looking, to find my dwarf, can you tell where he is? Probably not, because he's just in the middle of a whole bunch of shit. So how do you know which way Fault Line's going to go? And that is the biggest downside with Fault Line. You have to keep an eye on your character and know exactly where he is in order to execute Fault Line. And if you have to keep, like if you're using multiple powers that you have to target like that, then you're going to basically have a lot of cooldown time on your powers because you're not going to use them unless you know you're in a good enough spot to actually use it. And as you can tell throughout this video, my powers are frequently up, so I don't need to waste any more time on my powers being up, basically. So as for the other abilities in Fist of Stone, the upper right one, the plus 15 Tremor damage, is good, especially if you're going to be using Tremor. It's a nice solid boost, and it will also stack good with Quake, because Quake gives you a flat percentage boost to Tremor, which is good. Ground Shaker, it's worthwhile if you're going to be using the Earthquake or Eruption abilities, powers rather. Otherwise, it's not worth grabbing at all. So for the bottom of the tree, Chant of Stone, this is by far my favorite Fist of Stone ability in the entire Fist of Stone skill in the entire game, because it gives you bonus armor and health depending on your intelligence. It will dramatically increase the survivability of your character. Any caster or any character with intelligence should dump points into Chant of Stone. My Finala, to give you an example, Finala 540 armor, which is an insane amount of armor. And you know why? Because she has a bunch of points into Enchant of Stone. So, and she also is using Repulsion, which gives you flat 20% armor on top of Enchant of Stone, which is like 100 armor, and she just stacks up a bunch of armor. She also uses the Corpse Transmutation, which is great too for increasing. It gives me like 200 armor for it's a combat magic ability. So Enchant of Stone is insanely useful on all characters, not just Fist of Stone characters. As for the other powers, Stone Form, or rather, let's continue with the skills instead of going through the powers. Fast Recovery it's nice. It's not the best, but it's nice. It basically gives you more health when you regain consciousness and increases your health regeneration while unconscious. That's it. Sorry, hiccups.
Stop right there, Mercy. Just don't.
So let's look at Healing Hands. If you're going to be playing a pseudo healer Fist of Stone character, Healing Hands is very worth getting because it increases your healing magic by 25%, which is quite significant. And it also gives you a shit ton bonus healing, plus 100%, when the party member is unconscious. So it is very, very useful to get that on your healer. I'd recommend if you're playing a nature magic character who is your healer, get like 5 points into Enchant of Stone, or however many you need for Healing Hands, and also Fast Recover. I think you need 6 points into, or actually let's check on Finale real fast because she'll be able to tell me. Yeah, so you need 6 points into Fast Recovery in order to get Healing Hands. So throw 6 points into there, and then go from there. Got to run my Tar all the way back here since she got a little further behind. So let's go over the last few skills. Like I said, Soul of Protection and Soul of Strength. We went over them already. You only want one of the two. Earth Pulse goes with Soul of Strength, and Defender goes with Soul of Protection. And that is really it for dual-wield Fist of Stone characters. So let's look at my tank Fist of Stone character. As you can see, his melee build is a lot more built towards tankiness. He has max shield. Well, he has a whole bunch of shield abilities and a bunch of other stuff like that. Ranged, he has 5 points into both dodge and survival as per usual. He does have some pet skill points, which I would actually redo if I was going to respec him right now. And as far as his Fist of Stone abilities, as you can see, it is a little bit lacking. So let me explain these. Tremor, I have 2 points into, and I have 2 points into Quake as well. Those are essentially just so he procs Quake. That's it. That's all I want him to do. Or procs Tremor, rather. I'm not expecting him to do a lot of damage when he procs Tremor. However, proccing Tremor sometimes will give me a damage boost, which is really all I can ask for. Just a small little damage boost for him, which is better than nothing. Enchant of Stone, obviously he's going to get some of this because I want him to have bonus armor and bonus health. No questions asked. Fast Recovery I like as well because it gives, since he's a tank, he does have a chance to go down more often than other characters when he's after he provokes a whole crap ton of enemies. And of course, Soul of Protection I'm getting on him because he is using Defender instead of Earth Blast. Since he is a tank, he does want to take the more tanky approach. And that is really all I can tell you about the tank Fist of Stone character. So I want to talk about now that this quest is out of the way. Let me get something. Let me take a sip of my drink real fast, and then I want to talk to you about other Fist of Stone characters, which I don't actually have one in my group, but there's 2 more builds you can do with Fist of Stone, which are quite effective. So I'll talk about that in a second once I find my way back down here. It's always a pain in the ass navigating in this game. Okay, so Fist of Stone has 2 more sets of builds that you can do. A healer and support. So, Fist of Stone support is basically going to be a Fist of Stone character that is built quite like Lothar. He's going to be using a sword and board, and he's going to be kind of like a jack of all trades, master of none. I'd recommend using a pet with him because and getting some pet abilities because pets do decent damage. The only reason that you don't want a pet on basically every single one of your characters is elevators, because pets suck when it comes to elevators and they make your regular characters stay behind. Otherwise, pets are pretty useful to use on basically everybody, even if you don't have any pet talent points. I'd also recommend throwing a heal into your autocast for a Jack of all trades Fist of Stone character. And I would recommend settling on a buff to use, either Wrath of the Bear or Spirit Embrace. Both are very, very good to use. Both have their own purposes, and unless you're using a mod for this game that is letting you use more than one buff, you're only allowed one Wrath buff and one Embrace buff. So choose wisely. I personally choose Wrath of the Bear because it gives you bonus to critical damage. And I also choose Spirit Embrace because it gives me bonuses to all of my resistances, as well as immune to curses, which is amazing. Curses can be really, really, really annoying in this game, and being immune to them at all times is invaluable, literally invaluable. So I definitely do recommend Spirit Embrace on your team, and the main reason I recommend putting it on your support Fist of Stone character is because you'll have the extra skill points to spend on that character into the talent points, which make it a better ability, or a better spell rather. In nature, you have Enveloping Embrace and Feral Wrath. Feral Wrath increases the power and duration of all Wrath buffs that you have, and Enveloping Embrace increases the power and duration of all Embrace buffs that you have. I'd recommend at least minimum 12 points into whatever one you're using a buff for. So if you're using Wrath of the Bear, 12 points into Feral Wrath. If you're using Spirit Embrace, 12 points into Enveloping Embrace. It's also worth mentioning, if you put 12 points into Enveloping Embrace, you'll also unlock Invulnerability, which is a very powerful nature magic ability that makes your whole entire group invulnerable for either 3, 6, or I think 9 seconds. And it's super, 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 super useful for some fights. Other fights, it's just like usually non-boss fights, it's just So keep that in mind. So as far as tank Fist of Stone characters go, you want to max out Provoke for sure. That is like the bread and butter tanky ability. Really, on my Fist of Stone characters, I only use like 3 different powers. I use either Earthquake Aura, Provoke, or Chant of Stone. Chant of Stone, or Stone Form, sorry, not Chant of Stone. Earthquake Aura is multi-purposed. It's good for basically everything except for bosses. Bosses, it's just meh on. So Brutal Attack will make up for it. Like if you want to switch between Earthquake Aura and Brutal Attack, that would be a very good combination to use for bosses. Brutal Attack on bosses and Earthquake Aura for everything else. And then the same goes for tanks. Tanks will want to use Provoke on everything but bosses, and then they'll want to use Brutal Attack on the bosses. For your support Fist of Stone characters, I'd recommend Stone Form, basically 24/7, or Invulnerability or Earthquake Aura. Invulnerability you'll only be able to use if you get Enveloping Embrace. So basically, if you use Spirit Embrace, you'll be able to use Invulnerability. Stone Form you'll be able to get on basically all characters that you invest into Chant of Stone on. So it's definitely something that definitely an easy to get ability that you can basically use / get on almost all of your characters. So highly recommended. And I'm actually going to transmute some items here real fast because I'm running out of inventory space. So forgive the lack of slaying enemies. And basically it's going to be up to you what sort of Fist of Stone character you... Wow, that is a very good weapon. It's going to be up to you what sort of Fist of Stone character you would like to play. You can actually get away with using a support Fist of Stone character as your healer for the overwhelming majority of the game. Only some bosses will hit you hard enough to where you probably need an actual healer. Otherwise, a Fist of Stone character, even without any points spent into the talents that increase healing effectiveness, will do just fine with healing. Now, there is a single caveat to that. if you're going to use a Fist of Stone character for healing, I strongly recommend you have I strongly recommend you make him a sword and board character. And the reason for that is you don't want him to go down very quickly. My dual wield Fist of Stone character is kind of a hybrid nature character. He's mostly a damage dealer, but he does spot heal, which is fine because I don't really need him. I don't depend on him for my heals. Finala is actually the person who is my main healer. She's a combat mage / healer mixed together. And so basically if Almar goes down, who's my Fist of Stone dual wield character, if he goes down, then Finala will just take over and heal from there. Otherwise, Almar usually throws a nourish here and there on anybody that's taking damage. So basically just a little hot to help them out. And then he won't cast the hot again until it fades, which usually by that time they're not in need of heals anymore, or, you know, whatever it may be. The only downside with using a Fist of Stone character as a spot healer is they heal pets. And they're going to stop to heal pets constantly, which is going to sacrifice some of their damage. So keep that in mind. That is the one downside. Now, as far as a Fist of Stone healer goes, I'd recommend mostly Specialized in Nature Magic. However, you want to go into Fist of Stone for all of the delicious survivability talents that it has. Chant of Stone, as well as Soul of Protection, are phenomenal. Soul of Protection, you want to use Defender, which will give you a flat boost to armor. And you want to use Chant of Stone, which is going to give you life and armor. Those are the most important skills you're going to want to get in Fist of Stone as a healer. Also, Healing Hands will be a nice boost too, but I wouldn't recommend getting that early on in the game. I'd recommend getting that like when you get to veteran difficulty, or maybe probably veteran difficulty. And the reason for that is because Nurturing Gift and Aquatic Affinity are going to basically get you more bang for your buck, at least at first. But once you get like 15 or more points into Aquatic Affinity and Nurturing Gift, they won't give you as much bang for your buck as Healing Hands would. So that's when you'll go over to Healing Hands, because Healing Hands gives you a flat 25% bonus to healing magic and also 100% when the person is down. So both of which are good. The only reason I don't recommend getting it earlier is because Fast Recovery is not that good in comparison to Healing Hands, and Fast Recovery is going to be a 6-point investment that you're going to have to do minimum. So on a healing Fist of Stone character, I really only recommend that you do either Stone Form or Invulnerability. Those are like really the only two that I'd because you're not going to, Earthquake Aura isn't going to hit for nearly as much, and also there's no guarantee that you're going to be close enough to the enemies all the time if you're a healer to damage them with Earthquake Aura. So Chant of Stone or Invulnerability is definitely the way to go if you're going to be a support or healer. Now, last but not least, let's go over the spells. So I've already gone over my dual wield spells, as you can see here. For basically all Fist of Stone characters, you're not going to want any active spells that you frequently use. I do recommend Resurrect, though, on your bars, as well as Summon Talon Portal, and also Transmute. Those are like the 3 main active spells that you'll want to switch to periodically. But aside from that, don't use anything. There's you're going for Fist of Stone, most of your damage is going to be coming from melee. And that is basically, that's all you need to know about that. Now let's look at my tank spells. As you can see, he's kind of geared the same way. Resurrect, Transmute. He also has this pet. He's also using Defender instead of Earth Blast, since he's going to be built more around survivability. And that really is it. Like I said before, my my dual wield Fist of Stone character is using Spirit Embrace. Up to you if you'd want to do Embrace buff or if you want to do a Wrath buff. However, that would be a great autocast spell, and that would basically fill up your autocast. You would one autocast slot would be heal, another autocast slot would be your buff, another one would be your pet, and then the fourth one is either your defensive or offensive enhancement, and that covers all your autocast spells. So you have to be a little bit picky. for some characters, like specifically like support slash healers would probably have an abundance of autocast spells, so you have to be a little bit more picky, but thankfully 4 is just enough to serve our purposes. And anyway, that's really all there is to it when it comes to Fist of Stone characters in Dungeon Siege 2. Hopefully you guys learned something, and if you think I forgot anything, leave a comment below. If you have any questions, feel free to comment as well. And don't forget to like the video and check out all other videos I have for Dungeon Siege 2, because I go through every single build with an informative breakdown like this. And if you would like to see a text-based version of this same exact guide, please check out my website, almarsguides.com. Under the computer section, you'll find Dungeon Siege 2, and you'll find a lot of good, valuable information in there, which will help you out as well. And that's all there is to it. I'll catch you guys around the next video. Peace.